Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp has finally arrived in stores and on your Switch everywhere. This is a game that I was looking forward to for a long time because of a game called Wargroove. Did any of y'all play Wargroove?
Yes, I have it for that reason.
Yes. So Wargroove was incredible. Little did I know when I played Wargroove that was based off of a game called Advance Wars. Had no idea. So then I heard that they were making a remake of Advance Wars called Advance Wars 1+2, and I got really excited. And then they delayed this game. And then I think they delayed it again. And then they finally released it this year. And it's here. It's a $60 game exclusive to your Switch. And this takes the original Advance Wars 1, Advance Wars 2, and puts it all into one big, huge package. So there is probably, I would say, probably at least 70 or 80 hours of content in this game, I'd imagine.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe more because I've played 15 or 20 hours so far, and I'm about 60% through the first game, maybe less, honestly. There's a lot to it. There's like 20 to 25 levels. So you have your a bunch of different things. It opens up where you start off, you just go straight into the campaign. And then the tutorial system is really, really good. And basically you are a CO, a commanding officer, a kid named Max, who is this young kid who's like, I'm awesome and I'm excited and I'm gonna, we're gonna kill these guys. It's kind of silly in that sense, but you're going after this other army, and you're progressing through this like world map to take over control of these territories and fight off this big huge Olaf guy. Is the first guy you fight. He looks like this Russian dude that's got a big huge beard. And then you have to fight him and take him down. And you just go through these different commanding officers and fight through them through different missions. And there's like story bits with voice acting throughout the course of each scenario. So you get introduced to new commanding officers as you travel through different regions of the world map, completing these strategic objectives. So for anybody that's never played Advance Wars or never played Wargroove, this is a turn-based strategy game. And it's kind of basically top down. You have a big old grid, and each grid has like different terrain to it. So you have like your plain flat terrain, you got your mountainous terrain, you got your roads, you got grass or trees, you got cities, etc. And then you have these units that you start with. And usually you start with just like a set amount of units. And using these units, you have to defeat the enemy defeat the enemy entirely or take over their main base, I forgot the name of it, their headquarters. You have to take over the headquarters. Take over the headquarters, you win, or if you kill all their bad guys, you win. And in the turn-based aspect, you start out day one, and you pick all your characters, and you can move them around the map. Each character has a move limitation, some of which get slower through like heavy terrain. So like walking through trees takes longer, walking over a hill takes longer. Some can go through the water, others can't. Things like that. You also have tanks, you have APCs, you eventually unlock things like planes and helicopters. You also have sea vehicles like submarines and battle cruisers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of vehicles at your disposal, but every mission that you do gives you a limited amount of those things to use. You also have bases that you can use to create new units. So you can like spawn new units on the battlefield one at a time, and then once you spawn that unit, you have to wait till the next turn to be able to move them. So you have to like strategically think about that process as you're going through, and you ultimately just go and fight the other team. So when you go and attack, like you have these numbers, like each team has like essentially 10 health, and you do a certain amount of damage to them based off of like your unit's power versus the other unit's power, as well as your terrain advantages that you have. So like if you're in a city, you have a higher defense than if you're like in the plains. If you have rockets, you're going to do more damage against infantry units. If you're a tank and you're going up against a heavy tank, the heavy tank is going to be harder to kill and will do more damage to you, et cetera, et cetera. There's also distance attacks that you have to think about. So like artillery, for example, can only shoot from 2 to 4 squares away. So if you're right next to another enemy, you can't shoot them. You have to move away, and then next turn you have to then shoot. But if you're 4 blocks away from them, then you can aim and fire and do that thing. So that's the general gist of the game. One of the things that I think was interesting here that I don't believe was in Wargroove is your commanding officer has like a special ability that you can use after you collect a certain amount of like points essentially in the game. And that special ability gives you some kind of buff on the battlefield for that turn. So like Max, the first character you play as, his ability will be a healing ability. So all of your units on the battlefield will get +2 heals to their thing if they've taken damage. And they also get some kind of like offensive, capability. And there's another guy that all vehicle units will get like +35 firepower for that round. So they're much stronger. They'll also get increased defense. Somebody else caters to like infantry, and there's, a bunch of other COs you unlock throughout the game that will do different things. And then whenever you start a round, you can decide which CO you want to use to have that tactical advantage in the combat scenario. And you just go through your campaign and do mission after mission. And each mission, like some of them take like 10 minutes, some of them take literally like 35 minutes. I've sat there like playing through a mission just because I may have made the wrong move, and then it's like, oh shit, now they have more units than I do, so now I got to figure out how to like tactically like beat them and hopefully like overcome a disadvantage that I have now, and that kind of thing. So it's really cool. And I haven't gotten to the second game yet, but the second game apparently is just as long as the first one, but you have to play the first one before you can touch the second one. Okay. You have to beat the first one. So it's there's a lot to it, but it's impressive with like the visuals look really cool. It's kind of like a cartoony art style, but they look really good. The voice acting's really good. And it's a dense game. I mean, if you like this kind of like turn-based strategy, like this is a great game to pick up, because for $60, like you're getting a shit ton of content to like play through. But it can be repetitive if you're, it's because you're just looking at a bunch of squares and a lot of it's kind of the same. I mean, obviously the terrain is going to be different each time, but it's ultimately just like a strategy game where you're trying to beat the enemy with different kind of board game kind of style approaches and stuff. So questions, what do y'all think?
What is it like? Are you given all of the units that you're going to have on a map right away, or is it like a turn-based thing where you have to like create tanks out of like specific buildings or something? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it depends. So most of the time so far, you're given the units that you have to work with at the beginning of the game.
Okay.
Sometimes like you'll have those bases that I mentioned where you can spawn in units. That, like, for example, there was one mission that I did where I was clearly at a disadvantage. So I had, say, 7 units on the battlefield, and the enemy I knew had like 20. So I was at a very clear disadvantage. My advantage was there was only 2 bridges to get to my island, and they had like everything else, so I could block them at 2 points. And I also had it was 3 bases I could spawn units in as I collected money. So once I kill an enemy, I get money for that, plus taking control of cities will generate revenue for you. So there's like, different cities on the map. Some you already have at the beginning of the game that starts generating revenue. The enemy has some as well. And there's neutral cities. So you go to those little cities, you put your little character over top of it. It takes 2 turns minimum to take over a city. So you get to the city, your guy like jumps up, like trying to pound it down to the ground, basically ground pound. If it's a fully healed unit, he'll put 10 points in to take over the city, and it takes 20 points to take over the city. If he gets injured, that takes away the points that he can output. So if he's at 8, he does 8 at a time. So it'll take 3 turns for him to take over the city, that kind of thing. And once you take over that city, then you get points from that. You also have the bases that you can take control of, but not all maps have bases. So some maps, like the people you get are the people you have, and that's it. So that is a little different than in Wargroove, because I think in Wargroove, a lot of times you're able to always generate new units throughout it in most cases. This one's very much more strategic in that like you're given a set amount of people to utilize, and you have to figure out how you can like make do with that team that you have.
Yeah. With that said, do you think that there is like one optimal way to perform a mission versus having a lot of options? Because that would be something that would kind of turn me off of a game like this, is if there's like just one perfect way to do it and I don't have a lot of really variety to how I can perform my takeover, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think there's like hundreds of ways you can do it, but I think there definitely are multiple ways to do it, because at the end of each mission, you get a rank for how well you did at that mission. So you get a rank from like S rank, which is the top, all the way down to like D. And you get points for how fast you did it, how many infantry units you use, how much damage you took, things like that. So I definitely can see there are multiple ways to approach it to where you can achieve it faster, more efficiently, and stuff like that. And kind of like, but it's more like micromanaging as opposed to like macro. Like, you're not going to like significantly change. There's not going to be like 10 massively different approaches to it, because like if you have 2 bridges, like you have 2 choke points you have to deal with. So it's going to be a little bit more limiting in that sense, and that, you know, if you don't have air vehicles, you don't have air vehicles, you can't just like fly them across the map. So you have to go to those 2 choke points to like put up some kind of defensive. So it will be a little bit more limiting in that, and you're just doing more micromanagement of your characters to make sure that you output more damage. And positioning is huge in this game too, because like if you move your character up, you know, like for example, these little rocket guys that you run around, they have a movement speed of 3, so they can only go 3 squares. So it takes them a while to get somewhere. So if you move them up 3, and then the other team has a tank that can move 10 squares, well, you just kind of screwed up your character because they moved up closer. The tank can get to you and kill you first before you can hit them. Because if you move, you can't attack. You can only, unless you're within range in that movement.
Okay.
So that makes it kind of challenging too, in that if you're trying to go across a map to get to somebody, you have to be careful about where you position yourself so that the next turn they can't come and do damage to you before you do damage to them.
I do like the art style of it a lot. Like, how do you feel about that? Because I know some people like, because the prior art style to this in the original games was obviously pixelated because it was for a handheld system.
Right.
I think the 3DS maybe, or something like that, the DS even. But now here we've got it's a lot more bubbly and cartoonish, which is kind of interesting in and of itself, because like it's war, and it's making war cute.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, how do you feel?
It looks like Clash of Clans almost.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
It kind of feels like a mobile game in a
totally.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels a lot like mobile. It's not my favorite art style. I mean, it's not like, oh man, like I love it, but
cartoony or comic-y.
Yeah, because like, I mean, again, going back to Wargroove, like I think they did such a good job with that game feeling. It didn't feel cartoony. It was, you know, I don't remember what the art style was, but it definitely wasn't as bubbly as this, and it is kind of weird. That's like, yeah, I'm excited. Max Kid is going to go and kill these people right now.
Like,
you know,
this child is going to murder these people.
Yeah, they're like the way in which they're it's also happy and go lucky. So it's very much kind of like, I think, kind of geared towards kids in a way, in a strange way, but it hasn't like deterred me from like still like really enjoying the combat.
Yeah, it seems like the strategy is still pretty in depth. So it's not like cartoonish in the sense that it's like just a playful, like easy chill time or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a way, it's almost like kids playing war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these are toys.
Warhammer.
Yeah, basically.
I kind of agree. I mean, because they even look like, in a way, they look like plastic figures somewhat. You know, where they're just like, you just have your little plastic figures you move around a battlefield, and I think that's really a lot of what it kind of breaks down,
especially with the vibrant colors and everything. And like look at this kid, just Andy, and
so happy.
I do love the.
I said his name is Max. It's actually Andy. That was the one I was thinking about.
So, but yeah, I love the art style of it. It's very, you know, anime-esque in that way, or cartoonish, however you want to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, the voices are good. I mean, it's funny. Like, there's some funny bits because like this Olaf character is like very like, oh man, I'm this badass big brute guy, and then you got this other dude that comes in who's kind of like this, has like a country twang or whatever. That's like his like lower level CO, and he's like super casual and chill. And he got this other guy that's like kind of a Japanese he's wants to get in there and just like start fighting people and taking them down really quickly. But then his daughter is like, no, we need to be smart and slow and tactical and like approach it this way. And interesting, like, dynamic. There's a lot of characters in this, and they're all voice acted in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously you have like text on the screen, but they also have voices in there as well. So I find that interesting. But like, you know, beyond, so once you play through the campaign, as you're playing through the campaign, you're getting all these points that you can use to go to this thing called Hachi's shop, where you can go and buy like music and art, like concept art and stuff like that. You can also buy like levels, and those levels can be used to do multiplayer. So if you want to play with against a friend, there's a whole versus mode to this that's like online enabled, so you can like do online games with other players.
So I gotta get it.
But there's also create your own level too, which I think is really cool.
Oh.
So you can build any of these and then share them to a marketplace online with other people, and then also they can then download that. So there's that component too, which I think is really cool because it's very basic, you know, design wise. Like level editor is gonna be very basic, but it's like there's a lot of different ways you can like lay out a map to, you know, take people out and stuff like that. And I think that's cool.
Can you do like AI skirmishes where it's like you're not going through like a story mode, but you're getting to like just fight against AI on like those custom levels, or do they have to be multiple?
I thought you meant AI fighting AI. Just watch.
Oh no!
It's so cool.
Yeah, no, you can definitely do that. So like once you beat the story, like there's you know, you can just play any map and just go up against an AI if you want to, and I think change difficulty and stuff like that so that it can be more challenging and whatnot. So yeah, there's like 8 different modes in the game. There's like the main campaign, and there's the versus mode, and then there's like whatever that mode is called. There's a level editor. There's Hachi's shop to do something. There's even something else in there. I can't remember what it is, but there's a lot more to it than just like going through the story campaign. That's already like a very deep, like I said, I mean, I would say I'm going to probably average 30 to 35 hours per game. And that's just to get through the main story stuff.
At the end of the day, is it worth the $60?
I think so. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think it's rich enough to, again, it goes back to like, if you like this kind of game, but I think they would be doing a disservice if they made this game $30.
Sure.
Kind of thing, because there is a lot to this, and it's the same kind of gameplay, but there's just a load of content. You know, it's like Super Mario Maker. Like the benefit of Super Mario Maker was people making the levels. So like the game itself was very light until you got into like the full game of everybody else making it. This one has a lot of already pre-made content ready to go. That's very dense. That makes it much more worth the price of admission, which, I mean, Super Mario Maker just had crazy amounts of tools too. So like there's a lot of value there, but I think this has a lot to it to play. For sure.
So worth the upfront price plus the ability for all the user created levels and whatnot to expand that.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah.
And it's cool too, because it's like it's not a hard game to figure out. Like once you like understand how the different units work and everything, like you click on a unit, it tells you exactly how it operates. It tells you its attack, it tells you what advantages and disadvantages it has. Like it's all in front of you very easily, and there's no timer. So you're literally can sit there and just like stare at it forever and just figure out like your move and spend 30 minutes just trying to figure out what your next tactical move is going to be. But what I like about it too is like I can pick this up and it's a good bathroom game. You know, I can pick it up and, you know, play around while I'm going to the bathroom if I want to, and it's great for that.
For when you're on your toilet for 35 plus minutes.
Exactly. You know,
So all
like
Switch
15
games.
minutes and I'll get all But
That's
I like
the purpose
that
of the Switch is use it on the toilet, right?
It's a toilet, yeah.
Wasn't that part of the marketing somewhere?
Probably. I don't know.
Sounds like a Japanese ad, yeah.
Yeah. But so it's good to pick up and play, which is why, like, you know, Austin was like, why aren't you playing Zelda right now? I'm like, I'd much rather play this while I'm like, you know, like waiting for something to like waiting to go to work or do whatever. Like it's very easy to jump in, run through a mission, and then move on.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't be in the bathroom 30 minutes playing this, but you give me Tears of the Kingdom, I'll definitely be in there for 30 minutes.
Now, it's not all 30 minutes. Just some missions are 30 minutes. Yeah. Just depends on what you're playing. And it depends on how well you do with the tacticalness of it, too.
Also, how long before your legs fall asleep on the toilet.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's the time when you're like, okay, I gotta get through these days really quick here. Beat these guys, you know.
What would you rate it out of 10?
Game of the year.
Yeah.
Probably an 8.
Okay.
8 out of 10.
Respectable score.
Yeah. So it's not amazing, but it's like it's a good game. It's a really good game, and I think it's, again, if you are into like the turn-based strategy kind of stuff, I think it's a very approachable, enjoyable game experience. Like I'll probably go through. I'll beat this game for sure. I'm enjoying myself, and it's been fun. Unless it gets like super super freaking hard, but I've only had one mission I played so far that I had to play more than twice because it was hard, but so far I've been able to do them usually in one turn. Sometimes I have to do a second one, but yeah, it's good. Advance Wars 1+2, everybody.
Sweet. I might pick that up as the second part of my pass after I pick up Tears of the Kingdom.
Hopefully it's part of it, because there is
is.
limited. Oh, it is part of it.
Yeah, it is part of it.
There you go.
I know.
Go buy this with Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
It's a
$50
great package.
each. What a great deal.
Heck yeah.
You get 3 for the price of 2.
You get at least 300 hours worth of content, probably.
Oh my God.
between
Yeah,
Tears of the
400 or
Kingdom and this
500.
Meaning I'll never finish either of them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's gonna be great. There you have it, folks. Advanced Wars 1+2.
Advanced Tears.
Check it out. Available on the Switch now. Full remake. Brand new. Looks great. So check it out.